Okay. Welcome to Just Now Podcast. That's David. I'm Albert. We'll be going over the Minions and Monsters newest movie, as well as Supergirl, some other movie news. David, did you have a score for Minions and Monsters?
Let's see. I guess I'd give it. Oh man, I didn't even think about that. I guess like a 6.5 off the top of my head.
6.5
out of 10.
Wow, that's low. I'll give it like a 7.5.
Yeah.
Maybe leaning towards an 8.
Well, that's higher than Toy Story 5.
I would be leaning towards an 8 rather than a 7. Speaking of Toy Story 5, I think I liked it a little bit more than Toy Story 5.
Wow.
I liked it,
Ooh.
yeah.
Ooh, no, I can't. I really like Minions. Okay,
Uh-huh.
I think it's a really good movie. I would not personally put it over Toy Story 5 though.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, well, how did you feel about Minions and Monsters? Just give me a breakdown of your movie experience with Minions and Monsters.
So I guess I'll get really personal with it because I forget if I said last time I used to live in LA. I lived in LA for like 5 years.
Right.
And you know, trying to be a filmmaker, I'm around like a bunch of film people, and it's easy to go see movies like all the time at like historic theaters and whatnot, and see like parts of town and stuff like that. And so when there's movies that are like about LA or about Hollywood, and you watch them there, it feels like, you know, like the camera is just like outside the building that you're in. You know what I mean? And that's like kind of a cool feeling. So I think Minions, like, to me, gave me that feeling, even though I'm like now all the way back here in Texas and
Right.
in California. And I think what that really is on a deeper level is just like a love of like cinema in and of itself. I think my favorite part of the Minions movie is that like montage near the beginning where they go through like all of these like silent movie references and like
Right.
black and white film, like how the Minions basically like Forrest Gumped their way through like the entirety of like early film history. And just the references that they were throwing out there and the way it was done felt like there was a deep love of like cinema from the people making it, from the animators, like, evidently, and stuff. And I think that just like bleeds through because the whole film is like low-key just about filmmaking. So it feels like one of these cases where like artists and creators get to just sort of like just spill their heart out about like doing the thing that they love, like while making like a film. And it was a lot of fun. I'm a fan of like Minions and Despicable Me. I just think they're like a good time all the time. And just to get to see that like earnest like affection for the medium was like really cool, I thought.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I also enjoyed the Despicable Me like franchise as a whole, as well as the Minions movies. They have their flops. Like, I was worried about this movie after Despicable Me 4 because I hated Despicable Me 4. But I think a movie like Despicable Me 1 evens it out because I think Despicable Me 1, the original one, is really good.
It's like a classic, man.
It's a classic. And with the Minions movies, I enjoy them, but I thought this one was good because it gave us a new set of Minions who are completely different mentally, and they're driven by different wants and desires than the typical Minion is just looking for a bad guy. But the Minions that we follow in this movie are kind of seen as like early philosophers as a joke, but they're saying that this set of Minions, while everyone was being brain dead followed by a leader who couldn't lead, we had a set of Minions who were talking about the stars and talking about their place in the world, and eventually one of them falls in love with storytelling. And I thought that was pretty interesting to take that perspective of a Minion who followed their dreams and coincidentally found them in a position to actually chase those dreams.
No, totally. And to kind of like piggyback onto that, like now that you mention it, right, like to connect that, like in the movie, like the little snippet of like the 2 hours that we see out of like the thousands of years that they live, right? Yeah. Is like the main focus is on like how that becomes a love of filmmaking, right? It's sort of like, but it connects it to like this really ancient like love of just pure storytelling. Like you're totally right. And the way that like culminates in the filmmaking, again, like I would say, to like repeat my point, it gives this air of like filmmakers and artists and animators like just really like waxing philosophical, like waxing poetic about like what they do, you know, like why they love to make these movies and tell stories themselves. And I just think that passion like really showed in the final thing. Like it's not a masterpiece,
no,
right?
It's not,
but it's really, really good.
Yeah. And
I had a great time, and I came out of it feeling really good. And I think that's kind of like priceless. Like that's what it's all about. You know?
Yeah, and I think for a movie like this, it isn't a masterpiece, even though it did try to tackle bigger stakes and trying to. It goes from Minions that are like a very simple premise of like silly comedic humor, but you are trying to tie it with something as legendary as old Hollywood. But I think that they hit their notes right with the comedic purposes, but they also did it in a they kind of paid respect to like that old film,
Yeah.
in a way that I think didn't like overstay its welcome too much. Like it wasn't too much like on the nose about it.
Yeah, it wasn't like snobby or anything.
I thought it was in a charming way.
Yeah.
I thought they like kind of delivered in a charming way. The Minions like take on old Hollywood.
That was pretty good. I think we killed that.
Yeah, that was good. Let me see. What did you think about like the overall just like comedy of this movie, and what did you think about how does this movie hit you for like the general audiences? Because I think it's a home run for the general audience of big families going to watch this, parents taking their kids, or people who grew up with Despicable Me. I think this works on every level. That's why I rated it an 8 out of 10.
Okay. So wait, your question is like two parts. You're asking me like what I thought of the style of comedy and like what I think of how like universal the appeal is.
Yeah, like universally, do you think the comedy worked? Because I think that's what kind of drives people towards Minions is the comedy or like the silliness of it.
Totally.
Does that work towards the general audience in like in a good way? And as well, like yeah, like do you think the general audience will enjoy this movie?
Yeah, no, I definitely think like if the Minions aren't funny, then like what are they? You know what I mean? Like that's pretty much their like defining trait.
Yeah.
For the most part, although I do think that like the Minions movies themselves, like not Despicable Me, but like these spin-off like Minions movies, in particular this one, do a lot to like develop this idea that Minions actually do have like interior like personal lives, right? And I think that balances really well with like the silly comedy that like they're known for and just being these silly yellow guys. I had the thought when I was watching this movie that they actually remind me a lot of SpongeBob, right? Where SpongeBob, especially in those early seasons, like he is like a very like slapstick, silly, like just cartoony little yellow fella.
Yeah.
But there's things about him that like you feel like he's like alive, you know what I mean? Like you feel like he has actual like soul to him, like he's an entity of some kind. And I think that they're starting to like approach that kind of, or what am I saying? They're taking like a similar approach in their depiction of Minions like at this point, where I think as the series has gone on, they're actually trying to like enrichen like the characters of the Minions themselves. And I think that feeds back onto this perfect moment that they're hitting. Which, if you remember, do you remember when Rise of Gru came out?
Yes.
Do you remember how everybody was going to the movies like in suits, and that was just kind of like a big phenomenon?
Yeah.
It was like a huge thing. I think that the generation of people who were little kids when Despicable Me like started coming out, have now like grown up and are in more of a position of power. Gen Z in general is right, which we talked about last time with like Obsession and Backrooms and stuff. I think that the Minions are another like beneficiary of that like shifting of demographics, where people are now old enough to like go to the movies, take their kids to the movies, or take their like go on dates and stuff, or just for fun, and go out in droves to support like Minions because people genuinely love them.
Yeah, I was hoping people would do the suits again this time.
Yeah, no, they should have done like togas or something since they're
togas
like,
would have been
cool. So I guess to round that out and try to answer your question, I think that the comedy at this point is working in tandem with more ambitious storytelling for the Minions as characters, and like hitting a perfect point in time where it's like that can be received really well by the audiences that are like wanting to see those kinds of movies, which I think is why this one and Rise of Gru are like not just successful commercially, but they're sort of like cultural moments, you know.
What are your negatives about the film?
I think that the plot sort of I feel like I said this about something else recently, but before I get distracted, there's something about the plot that I think like moves really fast and feels a little bit disjointed to the point that like the way that everything wraps up doesn't necessarily feel earned. And I think because I will say I went to the bathroom like one time.
Okay.
Right, for like 2 minutes. I was at the Alamo Draft House. So it's like boom, boom. When I left, by the time I came back, they were already doing stuff with like Gumi. I missed like how Gumi like even came to be. I don't know how
the green
Gumi
monster.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
how
you missed the part when he was conjured.
Yes.
Oh.
So I missed that, and they were already off like doing stuff, and I'm like, well, damn, dude, I didn't think I'd miss that much.
Okay.
I literally was gone for like genuinely like 2 minutes, you know.
Okay.
And I also, and now I'm saying that right, I might be missing like some motivation and like setup here with like Gumi's whole thing. But yeah, I don't know. I think I would just say that I felt like the plot moved like a little fast. I would have liked to see more development of characters like Dort and his whole thing. Like he kind of feels like he gets dropped for like a chunk of the movie and then like comes back, and I still don't really like know what's going on with him. You know? But his role in like the finale, I think, could have been strengthened by just like knowing more, like maybe getting some more like quiet moments, because like the story's split in two. Right, where you have like the filmmaker minions, like the trio, and then you have like the tribe, right? And I think that there could have maybe been more like personal moments with the tribe. Whereas like the focus on like more quiet personal stuff kind of happens to like the trio that's like making movies. So I guess I would say the movie felt like a little out of balance in that respect. So it's not as satisfying to me as like I want it to be. Even though like I don't think there's like really a whole lot wrong with like what's there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember what part you missed just to see if this was it or not, but basically they are trying to conjure... No, they're trying to look for a monster, but they like obviously don't have a monster or the budget for it.
Yeah. So
the one that kept that book that has like everything to conjure the spirits, he just pulls it out and then they start basically just conjuring Gumi. And it has this big, huge picture of a like terrifying monster, and then Gumi pops up, and for a little bit they're kind of waiting for him to either turn into a monster or explain why it's not him. But then, I mean, all he does is just explains, like, I know where to find you monsters. And then they go find the actual big monsters. But I don't know if that much else happens other than that. But this movie definitely is broken up, like, into halves, but it's more towards the front half.
Yeah.
Because I think I did see this, that Gumi and the monsters don't actually start playing a role. Like, Gumi plays towards the actual half, but the actual monsters don't play a role until, literally 3/4 of the way. Yeah. So it is quick, because now that's technically the heart of the story, is the monsters and this new movie. But when you look at it from, our perspective that we're watching the movie, we're already towards like the back end of the whole film. Yeah. So like I also do think that kind of passed by a little bit.
Like it comes off a little rushed.
It got brushed over a little bit. Unless you extend the movie, which would be different, but I didn't mind just because I did like the Minions going on this whole other arc of, getting praised by Hollywood, becoming like uber famous, and then kind of getting kicked to the can when the environment of Hollywood changed to sound. But I think that's why, because it does definitely kind of get rushed. The ending does kind of get rushed just because we spent so much time of them getting famous and then falling down.
I guess in theory, maybe they could have done more to establish, like, earlier in the movie, like, set things up, right? Like the spell book, right? Like, that happens, like, pretty early in the movie where we see, like, where that comes from. Yeah. So, like, maybe it could be a thing where, what's the one's name? James, right? Is the one. Maybe, I'm just, like, hypothetically speaking, right? But I'm, like, maybe, like, he could have been, like, curiously reading the book because he himself is, like, a curious, like, person. And, like, in his storytelling, he could have been taking, like, inspiration from these monsters, like, just reading about them. And we could learn about them that way. And then when they actually get introduced proper into the movie as characters, we would already kind of know what their deal is. Yeah. And then maybe you wouldn't even have to change much because we would already, like, understand, like, how they work, what motivates them,
Mm-hmm.
rather than like Gumi himself like being introduced, coming out of nowhere, and having to like work in like very quickly with very little time this idea that he is like deceitful and that he's tricking them, and having that play out as like its own like mini plot, like within like a larger movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it is like a mini plot, but then at the same time it's like at the forefront completely.
No, because it's important. It leads to the climax.
It kind of ends up being like, this is our main plot now.
Basically, right? But then it feels like short. It feels like a little like under like served, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess there was different ways of doing this. I think them becoming famous and then losing fame, losing their role in Hollywood, I would keep the same. But maybe there's a whole different version where we are focused on the movie aspect. Like, sure, things go wrong and there is monsters, but we're still finding a way to tie that into the people who kicked out the minions.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like rub it in their face now that, like, hey, we are kind of successful. We have monsters, and like maybe spend more time on that. But we spend time of the monsters wrecking Hollywood, and then at the end they're like, oh, this guy was actually recording the whole time. It is still about a movie.
Yeah.
But that's not how it's really portrayed. It's portrayed as like just an actual kaiju, like taking over a town or a city. So I get it was like a little bit all over the place towards the end, I think. I would agree.
Yeah. And like when I think about like how things could have been done differently, which again, ultimately I'm kind of talking out of my ass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I say anything, but it's just ideas. I also am like, I'm like, I don't know if I would want the movie to be like longer, which is why I think of like what could they have like little things could have been like sprinkled in like throughout what we already have, because I think that it's really like good. It's a good characteristic for like we're talking about like universal appeal of these movies. The fact that you can expect like a Despicable Me or a Minions movie to like be an hour and a half is like really nice. It's kind of like short and sweet as far as movies go. Like, we went and saw it on like a random, like, we saw it on like Monday, my wife and I. And she literally said, like, because it's kind of hard to get her to like want to like go to the movies, much less like go like on a work day, right? Because it usually takes up the whole night, which she doesn't want. But in this case, she was like, no, I like the Minions, and I know that they have short movies, and that's why I agreed to go. So I'm sure there's like countless people in a similar boat where they're like, yeah, sure, let's go see the movie. Like, let's go see the Minions movie tonight. Why not? Because it's not going to be like 3 hours or something.
So you went on a Monday after its opening weekend. Out of curiosity, what time was your movie?
I think my showing was at like 6:45.
6:45. Mine was at, I think, 8 on the dot. How was your theater? Was it full? Was it...
So I like to go to the Draft House, the Alamo Draft House at Park North.
Okay.
And it was pretty... It was like half capacity.
Okay.
It was like a lot of seats taken like in the middle, like rows, like down each, like... Middle seats down each row. But it wasn't like super duper packed. Like when I got up to go to the restroom, I don't think there was anybody to the side of my wife and I, even though we were kind of like left of center. But the people that were there were like a lot of like kids. There were like teenagers there.
Right.
There were like some older people. We happened to sit next to this like older couple that was like getting drunk and kind of heckling the movie.
Kind of did what about the movie?
But they were like heckling the movie.
Heckling the
like
movie,
the guy, or at least he was heckling like the trailers and stuff. Like, because at Alamo Draft House, they serve you like food and drinks. So he had like a beer come up and he was like, "Hooray, alcohol!" And like Draft House, they show you like a bunch of like random stuff that's like kind of like relevant to the film.
Yeah.
So he was just like making comments and just making jokes and stuff, like just to his wife. But because I'm next to him, I also hear it and stuff. But even for like the not like super like at capacity crowd that there was, it was pretty diverse, which again I think speaks to like that universality of the Minions.
Yeah, I went on a Tuesday, so I don't know if it's called the matinee. I don't think it's called the matinee. I think it's the
matinee is like the
morning,
very first showing.
Okay. I keep thinking that's a Tuesday. What you call it, Tuesday? I went on the discount day, pretty much. Man, my theater was like jumping, like my whole like not just the theater, but like the movie theater building itself. like ridiculous, like in a good way, like just packed out.
Yeah, no,
You see,
Tuesdays
like,
are becoming
yeah,
big here in
I
San
saw
Antonio for movies.
families. I saw the baby daddies and the baby mamas. Like I was like, damn, there's a lot of people out here that I usually wouldn't see at the movie theaters.
Yeah,
But my theater was like completely full, completely sold out, and it was one of the bigger theaters. But I did get my diversity of like kids, adults, couples, like you said, big families. And I think that's what hit this movie home for me is that I do think it worked for the most part. Because I do like to kind of like gauge my audience when I'm in a movie.
yeah.
I just can't help it, I think.
No, because your audience, like, of going to see a film in a theater
Uh-huh.
is like a group experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the audience that you like my favorite quick
Yeah.
tangent. I'll make it short. My favorite movie theater experience I ever had in my
Mhm.
life was going to see Django Unchained like around my birthday,
Really?
right? And I was in high school. I was like a sophomore at the time.
Yeah.
And the crowd that I saw it with for that movie was like so reactive to everything.
Mm.
That's a movie that like 1 second you're laughing, the next second you're horrified,
Mhm.
the next second you're like on the edge of your seat, like palms like gripping like the armrest and stuff
Mhm.
because you don't know what's gonna happen. It takes you everywhere,
Mhm.
and the crowd was like very vocal. In particular, I remember like two girls behind me
Mhm.
that would like not stop like making comments on like just openly like talking like during
Mhm.
the movie and stuff. But like I thought it was a lot of fun. Like it made
Yeah.
that movie so thrilling, right?
Mhm.
So having a good crowd, like a diverse crowd that is like excited and engaged
Yeah.
with the movie, really enhances like the experience of seeing the film itself.
think
it
it
like
does,
strengthens
too.
all the emotions. You know?
Yeah. That's funny because I think one of my best experiences, just to bring it up real quick, I think I was a freshman in high school. But, so I was young, or maybe a sophomore max.
Yeah.
But I went with like my high school best friend, and we're too young to buy the tickets, but we're going and we watched the Deadpool movie. The Rated R.
Nice.
Fun, like so much fun. And I had a theater of just like, kind of like older high school couples or adults. And everyone's like, kind of praising the jokes the whole time because it's like full rated R.
Sure.
But it's a superhero movie that shows a ton of blood and, you know, has all these dirty jokes, and I'm not used to that, even though I love superhero movies at this point.
I mean, at that time, like that was kind of unheard of. you
It
know?
was unheard of. It was a ton of fun. But yeah, I mean, with this movie, Minions and Monsters, my theater was full. The kids were enjoying it. The families were enjoying it. Just enjoying it. But yeah, I think stuff like that does help. I kind of with a movie like this, I do kind of compare it to Toy Story 5 because it's the big summer blockbuster family movies.
Yeah, like the big animated like release of like
Yeah.
like they're kind of competing with each other.
Yeah. I mean, Moana's coming next week, but I doubt it'll do
Yeah.
the same effect.
Well, not animated in Moana's case, unfortunately.
I know. What I'll ask you real quick. I know you got kind of said, but you prefer Toy Story 5 over Minions and Monsters.
Yeah, I just think
I think the general audience would too.
I just think in general Pixar, which I kind of went into last time, Pixar just is at like a higher level of storytelling. Like
It is.
they're closer to like Studio Ghibli in
Mhm.
terms of like their approach to storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that still applies, you know, like
Mhm.
even today when people say Pixar is kind of in a flop era. I just think they take bigger swings like with their narratives and their themes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like one of like the defining like differences between Pixar and a company like Illumination.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Illumination, for the most part, I think is going to be like rather surface level in terms of their like theming or their approach to character and their like dramatic storytelling. There's things that'll happen in Pixar movies that will genuinely like make you gasp, you know,
Mhm.
where you're like, I can't believe that happened. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think that there's any like Illumination movie, as much as I like Despicable Me and stuff, I don't
Yeah.
think that they have any movie where I'm like, ooh, that part rocked my soul. Like I'll
Yeah.
never forget it. Like in Up, right? Even like the opening montage in Up, right,
Mhm.
where like the wife dies at the end of it.
Yeah.
People like never forget that like after they see it.
Ever.
I don't think. Maybe like there's something in DreamWorks like filmography that is like comparable, but for the
Sure.
most part, I think that's a perfect example of why Pixar is in like a class of their own, in their
Yeah.
own like standard.
Yeah.
You know.
DreamWorks would probably be next, but it's a big gap. I
Yeah.
think.
Exactly.
Because for DreamWorks, for stuff like that where you don't forget, like I'm thinking of the How to Train Your Dragon movies. Do you like those movies?
Yeah, I love those movies.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like when Toothless is basically hypnotized and he starts like aiming at the dad,
Yeah.
at Hiccup's dad, and then I mean he ends up shooting his dad.
Yeah.
and
No,
killing
that's
him.
true. That's it's.
And
a
I remember
shocking
being
moment.
like like they just killed him, but
Yeah.
there's not enough of those moments to really go like pound for pound with Pixar. Pixar is just the all-time greatest at what they do.
No, totally. And like, the opening of Toy Story 5, from what I remember, I've only seen it the one time still. But the opening, right? Like, you have this like super just like saccharine, sweet, nostalgic, just this really romanticized like moment between Jesse and what's the girl's name? Emily.
Mm-hmm.
And Emily's like swinging on the tire swing, and she's like kind of playing peekaboo with Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a part like, this is what sold me on the movie. Like, this is the first thing that happened. I was like, this might be a masterpiece. Actually, was she goes and she's saying something like, she's like, I'm here and I'm gone. And as she says I'm gone, it like fades to white, and the Toy Story like 5 logo comes up, and I'm like, because she's gone, she's like out of Jesse's life. It's like a haunting like memory ultimately.
Yeah.
And I'm like, again, I had a great time at this Minions movie. There's no moment that comes close to that.
No, I didn't even like properly think of that moment when it's weight.
It's cinema,
when
man.
I watched it. Yeah, I need to rewatch that movie definitely. So I'm gonna do a. Oh wait, one more. There's one more thing I want to hit.
Sure.
Minions. I think it's the last thing I want to hit.
Oh, let me get a cough out real quick.
You're good.
Just so that I'm not coughing during one of us talking.
Oh, yeah, you're good. What did you think of Dork?
I loved him. I thought he was a great character.
That's why, to me too.
That's why, again, I said I kind of wish that I actually knew more about him.
Yeah.
I'm like, I still don't know. I'm like, is he actually an alien, or is he just like a weird guy? Or like, what's his deal? I just wish I knew. Like, I would go see like a movie about the Minions and Dork, like exclusively, just because I find it like so.
You know what could have worked? That's like I didn't think about it until now. If maybe we do spend a little bit more time of Dork being weird and mysterious.
Yeah.
And eventually the ending is like more Dork versus monsters.
Yeah.
But from the perspective of the camera, of like the Minions like recording this big like
that would be cool.
This big old sci-fi monster movie.
Oh, that'd be sick.
Like I'm just thinking about it, that actually could have worked really well.
No, you're right, because they're totally kind of going for like a retro like sci-fi like thing.
Yeah, I would have loved that.
But yeah, I guess you don't really like feel it so much in the movie with the way it all like works out.
They don't use it in that way. They use it more as like he saves the day again, like for the audiences and for the like movie. But I wish the movie would have portrayed he saves the Minions more like in that world. Like it could have been, and it works for the movie like purposes too. Yeah, to do this big like robot versus monsters theme, and it could have just been like you said, retro futuristic like style, maybe like in a cool camera perspective.
Yeah, it could look like just one of those old B movies, like a Godzilla movie or something. Like, just could have gone for that kind of thing.
Yeah, that actually would have been pretty cool. But as far as Dork goes, I did like his scenes. I thought he was like charmingly funny. When he did meet his like love interest girlfriend, I thought that was pretty cool because like it just came out of left field.
But it was interesting, right? Because I'm like, it's like one of the like few things that like they kind of did get to dig into like a personal like area with like Dort's character.
Yeah, they take their time with it,
and it's cool, and it made me care more about him, and it made me care about that girl, and it just adds to the movie. I wish there was more stuff like that.
And they're fighting for pretty much women's rights at that point. It's for voting, right?
Yeah,
for women's suffrage.
Yeah.
So I mean that's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
But I did like him. I thought he was funny. I like that he did kind of end up saving the day. I didn't like need it to happen, but I just didn't want him to be like some weirdo, like because they kind of hint at it. He's like, oh, he's just going in his restroom and coming out. They kind of hint at him like maybe not being an actual robot at some point. Yeah, because they kind of hint at him being a guy from like Comic-Con, pretty much.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe that I got / like still get, which I guess. I'm like, is the whole thing? I guess I really don't still understand. Like, is the whole thing a subversion? Like everything he says is actually true.
It actually is true.
Yeah, like where it's like him having that like crappy apartment is like actually like a facade. Like he's actually like intentionally hiding that way. It's a fun subversion. That's why I'm just saying like I wish we could get like a little more Dork time. I don't know.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed all of his scenes. I thought they were pretty cool. Yeah. I'm gonna do like a really quick Supergirl review.
Sure.
I'll probably spend a few minutes on it and then we can move on.
Sure thing.
Um, can you ask me to rate Supergirl? So like, what's your rating of Supergirl?
Okay, what would you rate Supergirl out of 10?
Out of 10, I would give it a 6 out of 10. Leaning towards like okay to like slightly above okay.
Yeah.
It has some bad CGI, which kind of stuck with me. The movie falls flat on like a lot of emotional tropes that were supposed to be going on, and there's points of this movies that are just boring in my opinion, which shouldn't be the vibe for Supergirl. Like this should feel a little bit more, maybe cosmic or space adventure, rockstar energy. Superman's whole trope in his movie is that he's punk rock, but in the face of hope. I think for Supergirl, she should have been like punk rock, period. Like she should have been a badass. Millie Alcock as Supergirl to me works really well. I think she actually does like extremely well in her role, even though I think the writing of this movie is like a little bit all over the place. And the direction of the film doesn't really hit its emotional like deepness like it should. But as far as this movie goes, my negatives with it would be like the main villain that we do kind of spend a lot of time with the movie being focused on the villain, like we're chasing this villain. He's generic. He's not really like a threat per se. He just has something that Supergirl needs, and he basically ruined the life of another girl that we're following. But he's generic in every line that he delivers, every scene that he's in. It's a superhero, generic villain, but he's also boring. Like you can't do that. You can't have both because then you just end up being a forgettable villain.
Yeah.
And which is weird because it's based off a comic book and they changed his character from the comic already. So if you're gonna change him already, like you might as well give him more to do, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What I wrote down was Millie Alcock as Supergirl was actually surprisingly good. She reminded me a lot of like a Lady Deadpool, which I know doesn't make sense, but like just her quips and her sassiness, her confidence, it's just like really came off the screen really well for me. So I think she did amazing as far as Supergirl goes, and I think that'll work for like the future.
So you think that her as Supergirl in like a better movie, maybe like a better script or something, would like do really well? Yeah,
or also in her own movie, but also give her more to do as cameos. I loved one of my favorite parts about that Superman movie. Like my guilty pleasures that I like about that movie is the ending.
Yeah,
I think it's post credit. I'm not sure if it's the post credit or just the ending.
Yeah, where she comes to pick up Krypto.
She comes to pick up Krypto for like 2 minutes. She's obviously drunk. She's like cussing out Superman. I think she says "later's bitch" or something at the end.
Yeah,
she calls him a bitch. I'm like, dude, I love her. Like, who is she?
No, I mean, yeah, like she was super memorable just off of that.
She was.
It's part of the reason I was like so excited for this movie,
yeah,
because I thought she was in that like minute or two. Like I thought she was really entertaining.
I was extremely worried when I heard the bad reviews about Supergirl that she was going to be a problem or that people were going to switch up on her. Very much in my head, what people did to Brie Larson for Captain Marvel, saying that she was the issue. She was too flat.
Sure.
So that was my worry. A lot of people have that complaint about. They ended up switching up on Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
Yeah, people hate her.
A lot of these like basically women-led superhero movies.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest worry. That I had some paranoia going into this movie that I wasn't gonna like her.
Yeah.
And the movie starts and I'm liking her and I'm like, okay, well, like maybe I just won't agree with everybody, or maybe it's just gonna fade.
Yeah.
But no, the movie kept going. I thought she was good. I did see like her reading, I guess, parts of the movie that I think could have been better, but that's not really her fault necessarily.
Sure.
She's an actor,
No, exactly.
She's gonna do what she has.
Yeah, actors. I hardly blame actors like when a movie is bad because they're a lot of time they're doing the best they can. Like they didn't write it, they didn't direct it. Like they're just acting the parts.
Yeah, and she had a lot of different things to do. So Supergirl in this movie is basically starting off the movie drunk, partying, but then she also has these super emotional scenes where her home is being destroyed, and she has to kind of give that weight of leaving her family and then being lost, being kind of like a journeyman going from home to home. She has to play the part with Krypto, being close to him. she has to play this superhero trope to a little girl that's following her. And then she has to play the actual Supergirl persona where she does have her full powers and, she has to be imposing, but also, like, imposing in, like, the name of justice pretty much.
Yeah.
But she did good. The last thing I wrote on this, as far as the movie goes, are more about the bigger DC universe. The DCU is not in trouble just because Supergirl was a flop, because they are constantly hitting on their casting of these superhero. Actually, let me read that one more time. The DCU is not in trouble because Supergirl flops. I actually think that they're fine because they keep hitting on the casting of their main players that they're introducing to the universe. So David Cornsweet as Superman was fantastic. Everyone likes him. But Supergirl, actually, they found something really good with Millie Alcock as Supergirl. Lobo is in this movie as Jason Momoa as Lobo, who has been a fan cast for like over 10 years now. Since he was announced as Aquaman, he's now Lobo.
Do you think it delivered, like him in that role?
It did deliver, and he had the same issue as Supergirl, that the lines weren't always there, or what he had to do was kind of just, it was just there.
Mm-hmm.
The movie overall is like, I'd say, not a good movie. It's not a good movie overall, but his presence as Lobo and Millie Alcock's presence as Supergirl works for me. So I think that the DCU, you can't say the DCU is like necessarily a sinking ship right now, because there actually are like planting seeds that are the important parts of the franchise, because eventually we will see these characters again in a better film or in a bigger environment where everything is more high stakes, and those are the players that you need to like actually carry a franchise for you.
You're so right, because people, I think, tend to forget that, like, when they were setting up the original Avengers,
Mm-hmm.
Thor's movie was kind of mid.
Yeah, this was.
The
I was gonna
Hulk
bring that
movie,
up.
like, people kind of like didn't even think about
Yes,
it anymore.
I was gonna bring this
at
up.
that point. So I see your point, and then it's
Mhm.
like, just because Supergirl's like first movie was a little bit of a flop.
Yeah.
First of all, it doesn't mean the future ones will be,
Mm-hmm.
and second of all, it doesn't mean that it can build towards something great the same way like the Avengers did back in the 2010s.
Yeah, like I'm sure when Thor: The Dark World came out, I'm sure people switched up on Hemsworth as Thor,
Yeah.
like thinking he wasn't gonna deliver, because at that point we had gotten Thor 1, Thor: The Dark World, which are good to bad movies. But then you see him in Thor Ragnarok. You see him, his emotional weight in Infinity War. He's a huge player in Endgame. As long as you are dropping these seeds as David Cornsweet as Superman, Millie Alcock as Supergirl, you are still setting up your bigger DC universe. And if you set up your Green Lantern, later this year, and that works for you, you like, next thing you know, you actually have a ton of players who can contribute to a bigger universe. And you have those legs under you where you have more margin for error in the future. One more thing, and this one you can tell me what you think. I'll just ask you what you think. So what do you think about Supergirl's release period? Supergirl is basically being released when the superhero fatigue is technically at its highest. Mm-hmm. These movies are proven to be making less than they ever have. In the modern era, in our modern era of superhero movies.
Yeah.
But, superhero fatigue, plus it is like a woman-led movie, superhero movie. So, just what do you think about the fact that it's not making money? Do you think this was a movie kind of like set to fail?
I think sort of. I think that it's a bummer that the movie is, as you're saying, just kind of like mid.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do think that we do, live in like that peak superhero fatigue, like you're saying, and
right.
On the other hand, I saw like in, frankly, like months like leading up to this film.
Mm-hmm.
There was like some really nasty, I thought, like nasty discourse online that was just super like bad faith about like how she wasn't like attractive enough, and just like just hate towards the idea of like a female superhero, like from that like lens, right? Like a bad faith kind of like angle.
They were like comparing her to like other photos. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
Of, like, I don't want to say specifics because I don't want to like feed into it, but
no, like okay. First of all, I think like by no means is she like some kind of hideous like monster.
No, not
or
at
something,
all.
right? But I think that we live at a time though where there is like there's a real struggle between like wanting to push back like the male gaze being centered so much,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have people on the other hand who really want to like push back and like reestablish like male dominance in media.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, you see this a lot in like the video game like communities,
Mm-hmm.
where I think a lot of video games now are being made like for everybody, and because of that, you get like a lot of like female characters who look like realistic and look diverse and aren't just made like solely for it to be like eye candy for the male like game player base,
Mhm.
right? Like Last of Us 2, people are still like shitting on that because of how like the characters look, because of like, have you played it, Last of Us 2?
Mhm.
Well, one of the main characters in that is called Abby, and she's kind of like a burly, like strong, like woman.
Mhm.
I don't think she's ugly. My wife is bi. My wife likes her. So I'm like, she's got fans, but you know, like this is a girl that like lives in the post-apocalypse.
Mhm.
So she's not gonna have like her makeup done all the time, and it makes sense that she would like intentionally beef up her body to be strong.
Oh yeah.
You know,
If you have the resources.
but you have people who like, you know, there's like a lot of people that like make mods and stuff that like make her like sexier, and that's, you know what I'm saying, like you have like those kinds of people, and I'm like, that's personally I find it like kind of gross.
Just being grimy.
Yeah, like it's like you're not really engaging with it as a work of art. You literally just want like your eye candy, and it's very
Wow.
like superficial, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And I think that like now we see that in like other forms of media, like these superhero movies, where you go back to like the 2000s and you look at who was it that played like Sue Storm,
Mhm.
Fantastic Four back then,
Jessica Alba.
or like Elektra.
Yeah.
I remember was another one, or like how a lot of the X-Men looked back then, and they're wearing these like skin tight like leather things. Even Scarlett Johansson is like Black Widow.
Yeah.
In Avengers like 1, like
Mhm.
I think they were still like objectifying her a little bit like at that time.
Yeah.
And as that has kind of like gone away, you get people that are just like salty about that.
Mhm.
So any chance that like they have to like attack something culturally, they're going to take it. And if the movie unfortunately is kind of mid and doesn't really succeed at the box office, because I think if this was a great movie,
Mhm.
it would be succeeding.
Yeah.
Because what you just said is like true of like the Superman movie.
Mhm.
You know, like superhero fatigue is already setting in, and
Yeah.
because it was so great, like word of mouth genuinely got around, and
Yeah.
everybody genuinely had to go see it, and it was awesome.
Superman kept its legs, but like for a movie like Supergirl, it had its first week, opening week, and
Yeah.
then it fell off a cliff.
I don't hear word of mouth about it. I don't like know anybody who's like going to see it.
Yeah.
I wanted to see it, but since I've been hearing it's like so mid,
Yeah.
from people whose opinions I do trust, I'm like, I'm in less of a rush to see it. Like maybe
Yeah.
I will still see it,
I
but-
went to go watch it more to talk about it.
Yeah.
I didn't go to watch it because people told me it was must see movie of the year or
No,
the
totally.
summer, and that it's gonna be this huge piece for the DC. Even though I am fully invested into the DC,
Yeah.
just the discourse around Supergirl it's meh, like
No,
like-
exactly, and that's almost worse than it like being like bad.
yeah,
Because if it's bad, like a train wreck, like you kind of want to see that too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I got to see like how bad this is.
um,
But if it's literally just kind of like meh,
yeah,
is it a waste of time like to go see it? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Which is why I haven't like seen it yet, even though I was looking forward to it.
yeah.
So it's I just think it's unfortunate that has to be the case. I wish it was a better movie, I guess.
I mean, yeah, same. I really think it had chances to be a good movie. There are parts of this movie that are like really good and true positives for me.
Mhm.
Like they show her planet being destroyed and then somehow surviving on its last legs. So it shows kind of like a family being broken down. It shows them surviving like when they shouldn't be surviving. And then it shows her basically being forced to leave because it's a dying planet.
Mhm.
And she doesn't want to leave. Like she wants to die with him. She's like, why would I leave if my family's here, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Like stuff like that is strong, and it had the potential to be a good movie. but I think too much of the like generic superhero stuff got in the way. I don't know if you've heard, but it is kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy if Guardians of the Galaxy was like that. Like at that time, it was a risk to release Guardians of the Galaxy because it is so like spacey and alien-y. If that movie came out bad, that's what this would look like. This is what that would have looked like.
Oh man, that's such a bummer.
Yeah, like.
Because yeah, I thought all the trailers and stuff. I thought it was gonna be a fun time. I like the music in it. I like the colors. I learned about like the comic that it's like supposed to be based on, and like that story, like it seems pretty cool too. I don't know. I'm really like baffled that it's so mid. Like, I'm at a point where like I kind of do want to see like what's wrong with it exactly. You know?
I mean, it's not the worst. Like I still give it a 6 out of 10. And I think you would be roughly around there. Maybe from like I doubt you're outside of the 5 to 7 range.
Yeah.
Because it's not too bad. It's not too good.
Yeah.
But it's just too bad. I think I don't know what else I forgot about, but as of now, it's pretty much like the flop of like this year, and it's too bad for it to be that movie.
No, because I'm like it's summer and everything, man.
Yeah.
Like, in theory, this is like the most successful like period you could have like tried it.
Yeah, I mean that, and there's a bunch of heavy hitters right now.
Yeah.
A bunch of heavy hitters. Like people were still watching Toy Story when this came out, probably. But it's too bad.